Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. We are so excited to have you here and really excited to talk to our guest, Stephen from OTB Materials. So our topic today, as you can see, it's how automation makes EPD creation simple and scalable. I know a lot of you are looking at creating EPDs. Maybe you're in the middle of the process, or maybe you're an AEC professional and you are working with manufacturers to get EPDs. What we're going to be talking about today is how that process can be made easy. So sometimes it feels like a very technical process, but with the right tools, it doesn't have to be. And we will get into all of that in just a moment. But before we get started, and while people are starting to trickle in, I've got my question that I always ask, which is, what city are you joining from today? If you could put your city and your country in the chat, we love to see where our audience is joining from. And go ahead and introduce yourself there. You can put a little bit about which company you work for or what role you're in. This is a great chance to get to know other people who are here in the chat. And we are going to be monitoring the chat today as well. So if you have any questions throughout, if you want to ask us some questions, you can put those in the chat as well. And while those answers are coming in, I also have a live poll. So in just a moment, you will see a poll pop up on your screen asking, what sector are you in? Are you in AEC? Are you a manufacturer? Are you in a different sector? So please let us know what role you're in. We like to see this information from our audience because it does help us tailor the webinar content. It helps us know what content is going to be most useful for you guys. So go ahead, I'll give you guys a moment to answer that, and thank you in advance. Okay, well, today's webinar is hosted by One Click LCA. Most of you are familiar with us, but for those of you who might not be, One Click LCA is the world-leading LCA software for construction and manufacturing. We have an easy-to-use LCA and EPD platform with all the world's data and integration. So we actually have 300,000 LCA data sets in our database. It is the largest LCA database in the world, and we just passed the 300,000 mark. The database is growing, so we expect that trend to continue. We also have tools that help you comply with over 80 global standards and regulations. We have over 20 integrations with other softwares, and we've been in business for over 20 years. So we say that we power the makers of a zero carbon future. You guys are the makers of a zero carbon future, so we're really excited to have you here today and to help you in your decarbonization journey. And I want to really quickly introduce our guest. He's going to tell a little bit more about himself in just a moment. But today we're joined by Stephen, who is Operations Manager at OTB Materials. Welcome, Stephen. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And if you want to connect with Stephen, the QR code that's on the screen does go to his LinkedIn page, so you can continue the conversation, find out more about what he's doing after the webinar. And I'm also joined today by Nick, who is our EPD consultant for North America here at One Click LCA. Welcome, Nick.
Hi, Aileen. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And just the same, I put Nick's LinkedIn up on the QR code, so if you want to connect with him afterwards, you can do so. So now I am actually going to minimize this screen, and we can get started with today's conversation. So Stephen, thank you so much for joining us. I wanted to start by asking you to give us a little bit of a background about yourself, about OTB Materials, your role at the company, and why you care about sustainability.
Oh, okay. Well, myself, I come from, I'm from Pennsylvania, outside of Philadelphia, and travel the world in different jobs and work. I've come from a risk management and accounting background and gaming industry. But younger in my life, when I was younger, I worked in construction, concrete, cement. So I'm back to where I started, because after all the gaming and risk management, I'm sitting in a chair running logistics and R&D and admin and ops for a cement company. We OTB Materials is a cement company. We manufacture cement mainly from fly ash and slag and other SCMs, supplementary cementitious materials. And we were formed about 5-6 years ago on the back heels of a guy that has a renowned history in material science. His name's Mike Riley. He's our chief science officer, and I think he may have been the one that met Nick when we met at the originally at the precast show. I think Nick. Mike's a genius. This whole company is based upon his hard work and knowledge of how to manipulate and work with cement and concrete to make it low carbon and strong, and to do what it wants to do for people or companies. The other founder's name is Jack Aspenson. He's a successful businessman from the South, and those two put together this company and around 5 years ago. And since then, it's been a rising curve. It's a bell curve. We're on the way up. Hopefully, we'll never see the other side of that curve. But right now, we're about a third of the way up on the slope up. So a lot more work to do.
That's fantastic. Thanks for that overview. And we'll get into what you guys are doing at OTB Materials a little bit more. But real quick, Nick, if you could also give me a little bit of background about yourself, and then also what you do at One Click LCA, how you help customers here.
Yeah, certainly, Aileen. Yeah, so hi, everyone. I'm Nick Gallardi. I'm an LCA EPT consultant at One Click LCA. I've been doing LCAs for over 4 years now. LCAs for companies internally to provide analysis for them. I've also done it for the purposes of EPDs for that third-party verification, so that we can provide that data to AEC professionals. So really, I've worked with all different types of products out there in my experience as being a consultant here at One Click LCA. And what I end up doing while working with companies like Steve's at OTB Materials is not only training them, I can also consult on, which path is right for them. How do we create this? How do we analyze this so we can be able to get the most out of the performance? I come from a material science background as well, so that's definitely where kind of the two worlds ended up combining with LCAs and also looking at the materials in specific. So really all of that, and kind of just my passion towards materials and just wanting to be better for the planet really came to my role here at One Click LCA. So that's what I do.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. So great to, get to know you guys a little bit better. And now, Stephen, if you could tell us, OTB Materials, you've been in business 5 or 6 years. How long have you been committed to sustainability? And can you briefly discuss some initiatives that you guys are running that are aimed at developing more environmentally friendly products?
So it's funny that you asked how long we've been committed. We've been committed since day one, because we're actually the reverse of what other people or other companies that come on for One Click are. We're innately sustainable and low carbon and green. Whereas other companies are trying to get there by using the software, right? So it's interesting. We have a different approach. Fly ash and slag and the different materials that we use to make our cement, we're at zero carbon already. We're not firing up any kilns. We're not burning anything to create our cement. We're just we have a special formula that I'm under NDA that I'm not allowed to speak about. Our scientist and founder would strike me dead on the spot if I were to speak about it. But anyway, we're the reverse of a lot of what everybody's doing. We came into this and looked at the EPDs as something that we should have done a long time ago from day one. So for us, it's backing into to doing the EPD. You asked about initiatives. Wow, I mean, right now we have so many things going on. I could talk for an hour about this, but I don't want to do that. So mainly we work with precasters. We don't work with ready mix companies yet, although that is very, very soon around the corner. Right now, we're working with precasters because each precaster has a different, the companies that make slabs, or when you see a big truck going down the highway and they have a big piece of cement on it or concrete, that's a precaster that built that in a form at their factory. We work with those concrete companies and precasters so that they can go faster and become more green and sustainable. And to be honest with you, we're North American, right? Our marketing has started out as going faster. We can double your production in a day because we can demold a 2,000-pound block at 90 minutes versus 12 or 24 hours, which is probably 99% of the industry. So that's been our marketing, but we're being pushed into, and not because we don't want to, because we believe in sustainability, but we're actually being pushed into sustainability and low carbon because we're getting hit from all angles. From the states that we're in, we're just we can't stop the questions, regardless of what the environment is in the United States right now, or North America, and the world. People are asking questions about, is this the low carbon, the green initiative, the sustainability, is it going to go away for a while? No, it's actually it's gaining speed and going in the other direction. Every conference that we go to, trade show, there's an EPD talk every day of that show. They repeat the seminars once in a while. So back to the initiatives, precasters, we're actually also looking to get into the block CMUs, block industry. We have in California, there are a couple of block companies that claim to have low carbon options. And I know this isn't a marketing webinar. I'm not going to market our product, but that's what we're looking at right now. We are actually building out in our software the model for the CMU, and playing with different materials from different parts of the United States. We're seeing if it's even feasible for us to set that up. California is kind of separated from the rest of the country as far as raw materials are concerned, certain raw materials. So
yeah, that's very interesting to hear. I think we might get into that a little bit further in the webinar about some of those scenarios that you are looking at right now, because I know that is a big part of the capabilities of what some of these tools like One Click LCA can offer. But let me touch back on something that you brought up, which is that, you're getting questions, you're hearing it from all angles. People want EPDs, they want sort of the proof, and your product, as you say, it's innately sustainable. That's just the way it is. So you're not using an EPD to see how much you can reduce. The EPD is a little more like your certification that you are a sustainable material. Would you say that's a correct assessment of how you're using them?
Kind of, because they want to see who did it. They want to see what stamps on the EPD, right? They want to see the one-click name on the EPD. Like, where'd you do it? Who verified it? And yes, that happens. And to be honest with you, we had two people come up to us at a trade show we were at 2 months ago, and they were looking for us because they saw our product on the materials compass, and they had more questions to ask us about it. They weren't asking about the verification of the EPD. They saw that was done. They got into more. They wanted to play with, we plug this into our system, and can you make a change on your end? And I talked to the guy. I'm like, yeah, I can. I can actually make the change in the software, and I can show it to you. Now, I come from risk management and gaming industry, right? I was thrown into this seat a year and a half ago, and It's just the automation, the tools that you guys have were made me able to respond to that person in a way that we're now talking to them about doing business with them. If it wasn't for the tools, for me to be able to put numbers through a tool, an easy tool, right? I've seen other tools. Your tool's fantastic for that. Well, for me, it was.
Well, yeah, I think, it'd be super great if you could get into a little bit more of the detail about what it's taken to create an EPD, because I know that you have published some EPDs through One Click LCA. And so I'd love to know how you integrate our software into your workflow and how easy it's been to create those EPDs.
So I'll talk about the ease of it first, then we'll talk about the workflow. As far as the ease, listen, again, I've repeated a couple more times probably. I come from a different industry, and I was told, get in the box, create this EPD for us. You have a couple months. Now, I did take a couple of months to do it, but I did not need a couple of months because I had other things I needed to do. I was running down other things. If I had my time focused on just to this, it would have taken me probably a couple weeks. Because listen, because our product is simpler than other products. Okay, you have clients who may be listening, or people that are listening today that have a more intricate product. It would maybe take them double that. But cement, even for a precaster, we run a model for a precaster. It didn't take long for us to do it because we had Nick, number one, to help, and he was a key part of this process. Any of my questions I had, and I had a lot of stupid questions in the beginning. I still do. He answered them all. And you, Aileen, with your webinars and the company's webinars, I would just watch them every day. I would watch them or repeat them, right? Because I was hearing words that I wasn't used to hearing before, and terms and terminology. And I just kind of figured it out on my own. So it was very easy. Took me longer than it should have, but in the end, and all the resources that you guys have. I mean, I know you're not, it's crazy. You have community forums, you have help guides, you have webinars. I could look at the onboarding videos again. I could re-watch them and understand. If I didn't understand something, I would send a question to Nick. If Nick's not around, then I go to the chat forums, the community forum at 2 a.m. and ask a question about a data point. I'm looking for a data point that didn't match up correctly. We were looking for an ingredient that we were trying to find in the North American database, in the data points in your software. Couldn't find it. Scientists said, it's there, you got to find it. Get on with the scientists, showed them the software, said, you know what, I'm done, I'm giving up. I'm just going to make this easy. I'm going to the community forums. I went in, put in the question. It's like 4 a.m. And now, it's some 10 minutes later, 4:10, some one-click client or employee it responds from Lithuania, or I don't know where the heck they were. It responds, oh no, here, this is how you get to that data point. And I'm like, oh, I remember. Nick told me that before. I just forgot it. And boom, we found it. We found the data point for the ingredient that we were looking for, and it lowered our output, our carbon footprint, which we were trying to do that, right? We want to get lower. It lowered it actually substantially, but that wasn't the point. Point is, we wanted to get something that we could get through the verification process and not have it backed up, because we were towards the end of the year. We didn't want to go through Christmas and wait. So timing had a little bit to do with it.
Well, I'm glad to hear that our sort of global community was able to be there for you. We've got people all over the world. So 4 a.m. here is someone's normal day who uses the software. Right. That's great. Thank you for sharing your experience with the tools. Nick, I'd love it if you could also expand on some of the automations that you see. I know that you worked with Stephen on producing those EPDs for OTB Materials, and you work with other customers as well. What do you see as the main benefit of having an automated tool to help create an EPD?
Yeah, I mean, there's at least a few things that I can certainly see with an automated tool. One of them is kind of what Stephen was mentioning with, maybe there's special mixes or recipes that are commonly used throughout kind of your mixes or your designs that you're creating, you can be able to create like building blocks or construction groups, we call them in the software, and then you can just pull them into other models just like a data point would, but it would keep that nice packet of information that you were working with before, that design with all those mixes in there. So, that's one of the ways. Another way that I think is fantastic is, data points have their own names. Whatever database ends up creating it, they put their own name on it. At least what we can do with ours is you can rewrite the whole entire name of the data point so that you can align it to your own kind of SKUs if you wanted to, or however you call your bill of materials. And I think that makes it immensely easier, because if you don't come from some of these backgrounds, then you'll certainly know about hopefully the products or the materials that you're working with. And then if someone can already load that up, or we work during the training and we work through them and get that set up, it makes that, I think, exponentially easier, especially if you're working at kind of your home base and things that are more comfortable to you.
That's great. I think getting back to you, Stephen, with something that you touched on, you sort of touched on it a little bit, but talking about, and what Nick just mentioned, talking about different scenarios and being able to change things in the model. So like you say, when you're talking to someone in a different location, or someone whose ultimate concrete product is slightly different, you can make those changes in the model and see what that would look like. Can you talk a little bit more about that experience, and has that helped you? I think you said it helped you, have conversations with one client, but how has that helped you?
Tremendously. So actually, this is where I spend all my time when I'm in the model. I spend all my time inside of the model playing with different raw materials and ingredients and plotting them out. So we have an internal map built at OTB. We built an internal map, and it has 15 different layers on it. And inside of those layers, we have sub layers, which are raw materials. And it's a North American map, Canada and Mexico. Everything we do is American. We're full US product. We don't import anything. We make all of our cement here. But back to the question is, we keep, depending on where we have a customer and depending on what their need is, we just start. I have a 30-inch monitor. I have the map here and I have the model here, and I just start looking. I just start plotting and putting in different data points, and for raw materials that we have that we could source in. Okay, do we take it from Texas or we take it from Florida? Customers in Springfield, Missouri. Yeah, well, what's the carbon and the price and the way we can transport it? All of that is part of the model. So we're messing around with the transportation methods in A2, right? A2, right? Okay, and it's helped a lot, because what we can do is we can create drafts, and then we can print those drafts, save those drafts, graph them out, show them to our C-suite or our biz dev guy, and he can go back and talk to the potential customer and say, listen, this is what it looks like. If you're worried about strength in your product or going faster, we can do it better with this ingredient. Or if you're worried about low carbon, which we had already vetted before the conversation, then we could do it here. It's going to be a little bit more expensive because we have to source it from a little bit further away. But we kind of let the customer make a decision with us via the software. So I look at it as a dynamic tool that we use to onboard customers, and we show as much as we show what we can with the reporting that you have, the visual reporting that's offered when you generate the EPD. It's fantastic.
That's great. I mean, it sounds like you're using the tool not just to have a published and third-party verified EPD that, people trust and come to you with, but also to be doing active decision-making with potential clients, when you're determining what their specific mix is going to look like.
We actually have an idea on 2 new products that we are because of the model. the fact that we can go in and build this out and see where our carbon footprint will be, it's given us initiative to maybe possibly start making that product, whereas we never even thought about it before. So the model, we default if I'm using a model and making that product for somebody, for a market.
That's great to hear. Nick, have you heard of this kind of use of our tool? Do you run across this where it's not just a tool for creating and publishing an EPD, but it's a tool for doing research and development and making better products, making products that are more tailored to certain customers?
Certainly, that's really where I ended up getting my start with LCAs in general. I was with another company before, and it was just really looking at putting different scenarios to the test, and you really get to look at it from a business, a financial perspective, and then also from kind of a sustainable perspective. It combines all of those, and at least back then, the question was, at what point is the diminishing return of increasing the recycled content on your embodied carbon and also on the wallet? What's that perfect price point where you're lowering that embodied carbon, but also not breaking the bank too much, and hopefully not changing molds either. I've seen various different things. I love Stevens most importantly because, especially if you're doing more customize and working with clients, especially for precast and things that are more important, that needs time and carrying into that, this is certainly valuable. So you can really work with those specific quantities or those batches that you're really working with. I've also seen it through the material compass too. We've had I like to call it a top-down approach. I've worked with clients where they have very high embodied carbons compared to their industry, and they're using the material compass tool to look at other suppliers to reduce their embodied carbon or find different ways that they can be able to strategize and decarbonize so that they can get in a more competitive space, because we're starting to see those states set some limits on some of these materials.
I forgot to mention something along with Nick saying. We actually, with some of our precast customers in certain states, they know that we have an EPD verified, and they don't have an EPD on their precast product. It's to our benefit for them to have an EPD on their product that they're using our cement with, right? So what we're doing with 3 customers right now, well, 2, one we're trying to convince them to do, but other two we're trying to get them go to the final step, is we're making a precast template for them, a draft template with your software, and showing them what an EPD would look like. Now, we haven't had the sale yet, right? They haven't turned around and reached out to you guys, but this is within the last 2 weeks. I've given 2 printouts of what their EPD would look like, and it hasn't been a negative response. It's been the other way. It's been more emails. Let's talk about this more. How can this help us? And what can this do for us? Now, out of the 3, one of them is in a state where and the stakeholder doesn't really care, right? Some people in this team do care about it, but in other 2 states, it's going to happen. Hopefully, you'll have a knock at your door pretty soon from these 2 people, these 2 customers of ours, because once they get their EPD, then we get to take that and we get to say, okay, our cement EPD verified. Now they've used our cement as a data point in their EPD, and look at their carbon footprint, how much it changed because of our cement. Even though cement's a low part of concrete, right? We have other ways of helping them get there. We can recommend different aggregates for them, recyclable aggregates that we're working with as well. So it's a chain reaction. It's going in the right direction for us now.
That brings up another question, which is, you're getting an EPD, you're seeing a market advantage to it, you're seeing a research and development advantage to it. That's fantastic. But, it's up and down the supply chain. You want the people who are using your product to have an EPD because that helps get you exposure. It's helpful if any down chain suppliers have EPDs. Your concrete producers are going to be happy to have an EPD from you when they go to get an EPD. So I'd be interested to hear your take on how the market is interconnected and how sort of more EPDs is better for everyone.
Well, I mean, if you want me to look at this from a business point of view, I could be greedy and say that that it's great for us because we beat everybody else. We're the lowest cement in the world. And it's not even close, and it's an all-American product. We don't have to burn anything to get to that point. So, notwithstanding what I just said, just in general, it's a movement that's not going to stop. In North America, we're behind the curve. We need to catch up, and just in general, just for the whole environment, it's a good thing. It's the best way to say it. Something that needs to be done, something that's right. Right when you know something's right or wrong, you're on the playground when you're a kid, you know what's right or wrong. This is right or wrong. This is right.
Yeah. Well, we obviously at One Click LCA agree. Dick, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, certainly. I mean, it's the intersection of so many different things. It's of different industries coming together. It's of similar industries. It's of manufacturers, AEC. It's internally, different companies talking to one another. And it's also kind of realizing how intertwined materials, the energy, what are we doing with it, dictates so much about how much carbon emissions or how much essentially we're hurting the earth. We're hurting the thing that's kind of giving back to us. And this really kind of puts it in perspective. And it really puts it in a more tangible way, if I'd like to say it, where, as Stephen was mentioning, you can really start playing around with it, and that visualization of where am I shipping these things? What material am I shipping? How much is that actually? And really getting the sense of it, I think it really starts putting a lot of things into perspective. And I think a lot of better decisions can come out of it for a business, not only for the environment.
Yeah. Well, and like in any other industry, first movers, innovators, when things are changing, they tend to get the most benefit. So OTB Materials is certainly a first mover in the EPD and low carbon materials space. And, really excited to see what comes of it, the other products that you make. I want to change gears just a little bit here, Stephen, and ask you, you've talked about a lot of the benefits of the software and the ease of use and sort of laying to rest some of the fears about how, complex an EPD can be, and that, it's actually not that hard. But you have shared in the past some things that you would recommend for people to prepare for this process. Would you mind sharing some of that, what you think teams should do ahead of time if they are looking to get an EPD?
Oh, yes. Actually, yeah, we spoke about this before. Just I'll make it short, concise. It's preparation, but not a lot of preparation. Just making sure that whatever company that you're working for, if you're the person that needs to make the EPD, create it, LCA, and then have it verified and published, to make sure that you have some pieces in place before you start. In other words, if the boss says, go do this EPD and puts you on an island, you're on your own, make sure that you let him know, her, that you need a couple of days to set up and understand your hierarchy in your company, because you will need to have people answer questions for you. We're a small company. It was a little bit easier for me to do it because I knew where everything was. But for some of the bigger companies that some of you are logging on from, it may be more difficult for you to do that. If you could have a pre-prep time where you could find out which the accounting department, bills of lading, bills of sale, receipts, invoices, if you need to run things down for the raw materials, right? Have that all set up, find out who they are before you start. Then you do your onboarding, because your onboarding will be much easier. You'll understand a lot of the terminology that they're speaking about once you understand that you can know where to find everything. And after that, it's Sudoku. It's a crossword puzzle. You just need to fill in the pieces after that. Really, that's it. You just need to fill in the pieces. Look at it like that. It's a grid. Fill in the pieces. You got your information. Just make sure that you have support from somebody in your team, interdepartmental communication, where you can reach out and get an answer. Because if you don't, you'll be sitting there for a day or 2 days worried about getting an answer because you can't go to the next step in the EPD process. Make sure you're set up. You have communication in your company. It'll be a breeze.
That's great advice for anyone looking to start the process. And Nick, would love it if you could tell us a little bit more about what role you play and our onboarding team plays to help that process, because there is some setup, there is data collection. We try to make an EPD as easy as possible, but it is still a bit of a process. So how does your team support other teams in that way?
Yeah, certainly. So at least what I end up doing for most part of my job is training most of the North American clients that do come through One Click LCA. So we have a training process that's all set up. We have a course academy as well, so you can always have access to that. Really what I'm here for is kind of a one-on-one answering, demoing the software, really getting into the details of your product and kind of all the nuances, because there's always an exception to the rule. And it always seems like I always come across the exception every time I come one of these models. So we talk through that and we work together. And, I want to say too, it doesn't matter what background you come from, whether it's risk management, whether it's accounting, whether you're an engineer, whether you're an LCA consultant yourself already. I mean, there's something to always still be gained and learned. And I think if you come in with that attitude on, hey, I'm just here to learn and I just have a ton of questions, we're going to be here to support you for all of that through and through. We're going to have questions too, but it's going to be about your product. So hopefully you're going to have those answers, and we're going to work together to help achieve whatever goal it may be.
Yeah, I'm proof of it. Reach out to me if you need ask any questions. It's all going to be positive. I appreciate everything you did in helping us get there. I'm excited for the next couple of EPDs. We're getting ready to punch out for a couple other products. So, and it's going to. I may not even need you for the next couple ones. You did such a good job, buddy. So
it's great to hear that you started as sort of an EPD novice. It was a new subject, and now you have become the EPD expert, and that's of course what we want to see. We want to empower people to be able to do these processes themselves, to bring it in-house, so that you're not relying, on outside help. That you and your companies can bring this in-house, make decisions faster, make them better. Well, we have a few more minutes. I'm going to get some final thoughts from both Nick and Stephen. But before I do, I want to open it up to our audience. I am going to share our presentation one more time. And I'm going to put a poll up on the screen to see, after hearing this conversation, after hearing about the success that OTB Materials had with creating an EPD with an automated tool, if you would like to do that as well, or if you're an AEC professional and you are looking to do a whole building lifecycle assessment and use EPDs to meet any kind of regulations or your client demands, we'd love to talk to you too. So if you would like a demo from a sustainable manufacturing or a sustainable building expert, please click yes on the poll now. And if you're not ready for a demo and you'd like to continue learning more, that's fine. Just click no, and you can learn more at oneclicklca.com. As Stephen and Nick have mentioned, we have our academy training. So we have a whole library of courses you can access to learn more about sustainable construction. We also have our webinars that we do, just like this one. And we have a whole host of blogs and articles that you can find on the website. And I would also like to invite you to our Summer Sustainability Summit. So this is going to be happening in June, on June 5th. It's a day of talks about sustainable construction. It's the world's largest online event about construction materials choices. So we will be talking about low carbon materials. And I'm going to drop a link in the chat here so you can register for the Summer Sustainability Summit. And we will be excited to see you there. Now, before we go, I would like to open the floor back up just for any final thoughts that you'd like to share with the audience. So Nick, any final thoughts from you?
Yeah, I think just have an open mind going into this. I know we talked a lot about sustainability when it comes to LCAs. It's kind of inherently a part of it, but really you get a lot out of it. You get a lot to learn about your energy, the way you design things, your materials. You get so much more out of it that really kind of feeds back to your business. So if you're really thinking about it from that perspective, it certainly fulfills that aspect of it as well. And then also happens to be really great for the earth too. So can't knock it. So those are my takeaways. Just be open to it and also open to learning. It can be a very easy experience.
Fantastic. And Stephen, we'll end with you. What are your final thoughts?
Actually, my final thought's going to actually change a little bit, because now that Nick mentioned that, you can doing the EPDs easy, get it done. That's not even the thing that I want to talk about. What I wanted to say in my final comment is that what Nick just said, that you can find how to make your product better by doing the EPD. It's a I don't know what the word is, but it's a hidden benefit of doing this whole process is finding a better way for you to make your product, and you can actually recommend to people that you work with, well, wait a minute, if that's a data point, wouldn't this one be better? And guess what? You can lower your carbon 150 kilograms, 15 kilograms, it all adds up, right? That's one thing I want to say alongside what Nick said. And the other thing is, it's actually to AEC professionals. If you want to impact low carbon, I'm biased. I think the best way that you can do it is through lowering your carbon footprint in concrete, which an ingredient is cement. We're behind in North America, and by selecting low carbon materials, you can have a huge impact with the EPDs. And low carbon is not necessarily more expensive. That's a fallacy. It could be the other way around. It could be cheaper. Try to start using your tools to select low carbon products via EPD when you're selecting for your projects.
That's fantastic advice. Like you say, we are a little bit behind, maybe a lot of bit behind in North America. We've got a ways to go, but in our industry, in the construction industry, we can have a huge impact in decarbonization. So really, really great and hopeful way to end today's session. So thank you both so much for sharing your insights. Thank you to our audience for joining us today, and we will see you on the next webinar.